Hello, welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. And today we're going to be doing Prestige Class Review number 66, and we're going to be looking at the Dragon Disciple. This is one of the original Prestige classes from the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Dragon Disciple follows the ways of the dragon to such a point that eventually he becomes part dragon himself. So Dragon Disciple is a classic Prestige class. It's a very popular, very famous one. The game is partly about dragons, of course. Dragons are in the name of the game. So they are pretty central. A lot of players love dragons and will be attracted to any Prestige class that has anything to do with them. The question is the Dragon Disciple worth taking, and how good is it? So let's look at what it takes to become a Dragon Disciple. You need to be any non-dragon race. You cannot already be a half-dragon. This is kind of a funny prerequisite considering that the end of the Prestige class, spoiler alert, is becoming a half-dragon, which means that you would no longer qualify for the Prestige class by the rules as written. And of course, this is part of the rules, and this is something that is just glossed over because obviously it's not how the Prestige class was intended to work, but it is fairly funny. Most people think that you just need to meet the requirements for Prestige class to get into it and start taking levels in it, so a lot of people wouldn't even notice this sort of thing. However, that's not likely to be an issue. Most players are not going to, already be half-dragons in the campaign, so you can safely ignore this prerequisite in most cases. For skills, you're going to need 8 ranks in Knowledge Arcana, and you're going to need to speak Draconic for one of your languages. And this isn't too hard usually, although you do need it to be a race that already either has that language on their list of bonus languages, or you're going to need to spend a couple skill points at some point in order to learn it. Unless you're a bard, which is going to be fairly unlikely for coming into this Prestige class, but you could be. Because the only other prerequisite is that you need to be able to cast arcane spells without preparation. So any spontaneous caster can get into this Prestige class. Sorcerers, bards, duskblades, favored souls, anything. It's usually associated with sorcerers because sorcerers are said to be descended from dragons, but you don't have to be. You probably will need, you will need at least one level dip in one such class to get into this Prestige class, but you could take a single level of sorcerer and then take levels in Dragonfire Adept or Dragon Shaman, which are both dragon-themed core classes, and they both have Knowledge Arcana as a class skill, so you'll be able to get into this Prestige class without any interruptions. So we would rate this Prestige class's requirements as not restrictive at all. For the kind of characters that are going to go into it, yes, you're going to need a level in a specific casting class, but that's really the biggest restriction. The Knowledge Arcana skill is going to be available for pretty much any character that would want to come into this Prestige class, except for perhaps a rogue. And as we'll see, a rogue is actually one of the classes that could benefit the most from this Prestige class. So what do you get as a Dragon Disciple? Well, you get a 3/4 base attack bonus, you get a D12 hit die, which is excellent, and you get 2+ intelligence modifier skill points per level, which is pretty par for the course, and you get +2 fortitude save and +2 will save, so you got 2 good saving throws here, fortitude and will. And this makes for a pretty good basis for a Prestige class. You get good hit points, you get good saves. Your base attack bonus isn't the best, which is going to make this not, too attractive to fighting type characters, but still. And so for class features, you're going to get, first of all, bonus spells. You're going to get a bonus spell to any of your spells known of any level, at every level except for 3rd, 7th, and 10th. So you're going to get 7 new learned spells out of this Prestige class. You're not going to gain any spellcasting advancement, so you're just going to fill out your highest level of spellcasting with a variety of different spells. And more spells known is great for spontaneous casters because they don't get that many. They can't learn from scrolls. So this is a decent feature, although if you're coming into this as a full spellcasting class, then it's probably not going to make up for losing all that spellcasting. Even so, let's look at the class features that you get. You get a natural armor increase at level 1. So you get +1 to armor class. That's pretty good, although for a first level in a new Prestige class, that's really not very much. You're going to, at second level, get +2 to your strength, and you're going to get claws and bite. So this is going to basically give you claw and bite attacks that you can use. You're proficient in these, and when you make a full attack with them, you get the bite as a primary attack and 2 claws at -5, and then of course you can use multi-attack feat if you take it to reduce it to -2. And the bite damage is a D6, the claw damage is a D4 for medium-sized. And that's not really very good, especially because they don't come with any good critical stats or anything like that. So looking at this, these natural weapons, the only thing we can really say is good about them would be actually if you were a rogue, because with a rogue you want as many attacks as possible, and you just want them to hit, and you usually don't care about the damage of the base attack itself or the critical stats of it, because what you care the most about is being able to get off your sneak attack. Normally this is accomplished with 2-weapon fighting, but being able to do a primary bite attack and 2 offhand claw attacks at -2 would be slightly better, although it probably would be, would fall behind all of the extra attacks that a full attacking 2-weapon fighting rogue would get. So it'd be there for if you wanted a rogue that hits more reliably and doesn't have to deal with rolling all those extra iterative attacks that will likely miss anyway. But even so, it's not a very good feature. If you're not going to be a rogue or something like that, then there's really not a lot that these are giving you. If you're coming into this as a full spellcaster, you're going to be disappointed because you're missing out on spellcasting so that you can get mediocre melee weapons that aren't even going to be as good as your quarterstaff or spear in most cases. At level 3, you're going to gain a breath weapon. This breath weapon does 2d8 damage in either a 60-foot line or a 30-foot cone, and the DC is equal to 10 plus your class level, so it goes up a little bit faster than normal. Well, of course it caps out, but plus your constitution modifier. And this is okay except for the fact that you can only use this once per day, and that really kills this as being a good feature in any way. The fact that this is one of the levels where you don't get a bonus spell kind of makes it seem like whoever designed this prestige class thought that the breath weapon was so great that it was worth not getting a bonus spell that level, or maybe that's just happened to be coincidence. But either way, the breath weapon is extremely mediocre. 2d8 damage of, hopefully you pick a black dragon. You do pick a type of dragon when you come into this prestige class, like with, Dragon Shaman, for example. But even if you choose acid, doing 2d8 damage with a save for half at, this would be 8th level, is just not going to be very good. I mean, you could have taken, spells that once per day would have done something better than this, and you would have gotten far more spell slots by this point. And, the breath weapon does improve in damage, but just not enough to be any good. This is a truly terrible feature, and for a breath weapon feature, that's saying something. At level 4, you get another +2 to strength, and your natural armor bonus increases by another +1 to +2 altogether. So having more strength is good, but the thing is, if you're coming into this as a full base attack bonus class, like a Duskblade, for example, you would be getting some benefit from the strength bonus, but you also would have been getting, more bonus base attack. And because of that, this +2 to strength is another +1 to hit and damage. But by this point, you've already lost a point of base attack, which would come in as either +1 to hit or +2 damage if you're, doing a two-handed power attack. So you're only a little bit ahead here with the strength bonus, and as we'll see, you fall even further behind in that regard. The extra armor class is nice, and it will, stack with an amulet and all that, and it's good to get more natural armor, but already we're starting to see the cracks in this prestige class. We're not really getting out as much as we should be. At level 5, you get blind sensed up to 30 feet. This is great. Unfortunately, a lot of your invisible opponents are likely to be spellcasters who can shoot at you with spells from more than 30 feet away, which would invalidate this feature. But for melee attacking greater invisible monsters or, any other kind of ability they might have, this can be nice. By itself, it's not amazing. Maybe if this came at level 1 or something like that, or if it came alongside another feature, that'd be okay. But as is, it's decent, but it's not amazing. At level 6, you get an ability bonus, Constitution +2. That's nice. You will get some more hit points out of this. It's kind of equivalent to taking like the improved toughness feat, plus you get a bonus to fortitude saves and all that. So it is nice. Is it a good enough feature by itself? I suppose it could be. But, again, you're giving up so much from this prestige class given what you probably were coming in here as, some kind of spellcasting class, missing out on your other features. And this really doesn't hold up so far. At level 7, you get your breath weapon improved to 4d8 damage. Unfortunately, you've now gone another 4 levels, and, 2d8 damage would be almost completely irrelevant at this point, and 4d8 damage would have almost the same irrelevancy as your 2d8 did when you got it. So it's really not much of an improvement at all. Your natural armor increases to +3, which, again, is nice, but if you're coming into this as a spellcaster, like a full spellcaster, and hopefully you're not because you probably would have quit this prestige class in a huff by now, your armor class already isn't very good. If you're coming into this as a fighter, well, you're giving up a lot of, base attack and other such things for the ability to have a little bit more natural armor. At level 8, you get an ability boost of intelligence +2. That's nice, but again, if you're coming in here as a spontaneous caster, hopefully it was as a Duskblade, because otherwise that's going to be pretty much completely useless to you. You'll get some more skill points, but it will be, a very mediocre amount and not really worth even celebrating getting this feature. At level 9, you get wings. These wings are going to let you fly with average maneuverability, and it's going to let you fly to speed equal to your normal land speed, which is a little bit odd considering how fast dragons fly relative to their land speed. But I suppose this is trying to fit into the half-dragon template, which at level 10 you finally get with the Dragon Apotheosis feature. And this is going to give you the half-dragon template. Your breath weapon reaches its full strength, and you get +4 to strength additionally, and +2 to charisma, finally, if you're coming into this as a sorcerer. Your natural armor bonus increases to +4. You get low light vision, 60-foot dark vision, immunity to sleep and paralysis effects, and immunity to the energy type used by your breath weapon. Well, again, that's nice, and you're going to get a 68 breath weapon now, which would have been good at, lower levels, like, level 3, it would have been okay, but getting it now as 68, you're just not going to use it. And if you came into this as a Dragon Shaman or Dragon Fire Adept, if you continue with that class, just a base class, your breath weapon would have already been far better than this. So, overall, the Dragon Disciple is kind of disappointing. It does give you the half-dragon template. It gives you some great bonuses to your base ability scores. And you do come out a little bit ahead of the, base attack bonus that you're giving up. You give up 3 points of base attack bonus for +8 strength, which is going to be +4 to hit and +4 to damage. So you are coming out ahead, but you're missing out on a bunch of class features from other classes that might have made up for that damage, made up for that to hit ability. And at the same time, you've missed out on a lot of other potential options. You could maybe justify coming into this as a fighter if all you cared about were your raw stats. But, if you are doing that, then you're giving up greater weapon focus and greater weapon specialization and feats like, melee weapon mastery and that sort of thing to give you more, another +2 to hit and damage. So if you were coming to this as a fighter for some reason, you're really not getting very much out of it. If you come in here as a Duskblade, well, you're going to get a disappointing breath weapon and somewhat mediocre natural attacks. The only good use for these would be maybe hitting a little bit more often when you do get your arcane channeling with your full attack. It would make you a little bit better at landing those hits so you can make the most of your channeled spell, but that's not a feature for Duskblades until level 13. So if you're coming into this after level 13 and you get to, second level Dragon Disciple by 15th level, then you get a slight improvement to that ability maybe, but it's really not enough to justify taking levels in this prestige class given that you give up, more spells. And there's really not a whole lot else to say. You get wings from this prestige class, but you could replace that with a magic item. And most of the features here you could replace with magic items. Of course, you'll likely be getting them alongside that. So you'll get excellent stats, but it's really hard to justify taking levels here. It's hard to see what classes really benefit the most from it. Again, the rogue seems to be the one that benefits the most, but there are other prestige classes and features out there, feats and the like, that will give you claws and a bite to make better use of your sneak attack. In fact, the prestige class we looked at most recently, the Animal Lord, would give you a similar feature for a limited time, but it would also give you the Pounce ability, and it would give it to you a lot earlier with a lot easier to meet requirements for a rogue, and as a result, it'd be a lot better option than Dragon Disciple for that sort of thing. So overall, the Dragon Disciple is going to get 3 stars for concept, but only 2 stars for execution. It's not terrible, but it's really hard to see why exactly you would take this prestige class from anything but a thematic point of view. And again, the Dragon Disciple is a prestige class that you're taking most likely because you want to be a half-dragon. And for a lot of players, that's a good enough justification, and in some ways there's nothing wrong with that. This prestige class won't ruin your character. The Dragon's Breath feature is going to be pretty much useless, but you'll use it when it feels cool to do so, and hopefully you'll fight some low-level enemies at some point that you can fry with your Dragon Breath and feel like a real dragon. But overall, I would not recommend the Dragon Disciple for making your character better. it's there for its own end. You take it so that you can be a Dragon Disciple, and that's about the place that it has in D&D 3.5. So that'll be about it for this D&D 3.5 Prestige class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.